So recently, okay, I know no one's gonna really care about this, but I just have to talk it out so I can feel better. But recently on Instagram, I've been noticing about how a lot of like mainland Indians are talking about the NRI fashion, and it's like, again, because of the Coachella thing, right? And that has recently led to like this whole area of discussion regarding like Indian craftsmanship, even going to regional bases of South India or North Indian representation, how Indian culture is being, generalized so it's easy to sail into Western gaze. I think, okay, their points are not wrong, but the way they're executing it and the way they're delivering it feels just... Okay, so what I mean by this is, first of all, the examples they're using, the NRIs at Coachella, they will call it representation of South Indians because from their experience, they're still Indian, but they're also American. That's something to like remember, okay? They're still also American, right? So the way they will experience their culture and execute it out is going to be different. In fact, how most of the times they like the vintage Bollywood style or even South Indian styles, right? Vintage or 2000s. And to an extent, a lot of people call them tacky. But the thing is, I've been in India, and let me tell you, all the fabrics and the type of outfits they're calling tacky are still popular here. Girls still like wearing them. I've seen similar outfits by people here, Indian influencers on Instagram wear. So I don't understand the hypocrisy. It only comes out when it's NRIs doing that thing. Pisses me off. And another thing, let's see. So that's one thing that's pissing me off, because they keep using that as an example to hate on it, and I don't understand how you're gonna, because they're not responsible for that representation. They're responsible for themselves. They lived in America, they're also Indian, so the way they express themselves is going to be different, obviously, but they have no responsibility towards you like that. They didn't have a choice in being born or in America or in India or being brought there either by their parents, right? I feel like sometimes it feels similar to when celebrities are being called out regarding their communities, and I feel like that's different, because when you're going to be a celebrity or going into that type of public spotlight, you know what type of responsibility you hold when it comes to other representing your own cultures too, right? But events like this and posting on social media and just doing what they want, like NRI influencers, they're different. They're gonna have a different set of responsibilities. They're gonna have a different way of expressing, and also like different ways of influencing social aspects, right? So it's like holding them to that same regard as supposedly celebrities feels like it's extreme. In the end, what they've experienced, what they perceive is what they're gonna put out there. That by no means they're shoving it onto people's faces like this is Indian culture. No, they're not. They're doing it as they like it and what they feel is good. And here's the thing, I think one thing that pisses me off is that a lot of these Indian critiques, like whoever is doing this shit, right? Like how I'm supposed to put my opinion out, whenever they do this type of stuff, it's always about how the abroad views us, and they always separate that Western abroad away from like Indian thing. But the thing is, like, there is that culture, there is that area where Indian and Western has mixed up together and has created its own heritage. You cannot avoid that and keep making them separate, right? It's been years, decades of Indian immigrants going there and settling up, so we have our own culture, we have our own thing. We're also American or Western, etc., etc. So it's like separating that, it's not right. It's not correct. And wow, I'm not saying this right. Sorry. It's the morning right now, and I cannot speak properly, but like, you get my point, if anyone's watching. But yeah, so, and another thing that pisses me off is, a lot of these like Indian critiques, again, they talk about this stuff, but half the time I don't see them doing anything towards it. I don't see them actually trying to like help in the issues they're describing, especially the Indian craftsmanship. Like, a lot of the issues they're talking about are real issues, but the thing is, they're real issues in India itself. Like, in India, a lot of the brands, a lot of the companies are generalizing Indian craftsmanship, like a lot of them. I'm not saying every, but a lot of them. You know, a lot of the things that are trending here are still very much generalized too, and there's not a lot of proper representation within India itself. So it's like using that, talking about that, and then trying to like project it out to the Western NRI area. It's weird. There's a disconnect. There's a reason why that's never going to be really solved properly, because there's two different audiences, there's two different cultures there. It's not one and the same in the end. Like, that's one thing I feel like people don't understand. It's not the same thing. It's different. Because NRI American, like Indian Americans, their experience is different. The heritage is much more different. It evolves. It evolved in such different ways. I'm not denying that that culture itself, it could definitely be more authentic. It could, you know, maybe put in more effort regarding like different craftsmanship. Like, you know, it could be more genuine instead of like generalizing those type of fabrics, etc., etc. I understand that point, but the thing is, they can't do much about it unless like India itself, first of all, focuses on its issues, because a lot of the stuff they get is important. Like, it's taken from India, right? And so like they don't have a lot of resources there. India itself is facing an issue regarding its artisans and giving them respect too. So putting that, like, when they talk about this, they're focusing on that as if they are the ones who can fix this shit. It's not their problem. It's not their issue. It's not that they started it. It all started from India itself. So whenever you talk about this, it's like, what is your point? What can we do about this? What are you talking about? Because again, it's not their fault. They can't do stuff. You have to focus on India. It's Indian brands' fault. It's Indian like companies. A lot of the corporations here, they're the ones who are doing this, generalizing and ruining Indian craftsmanship and artisans. You know, even the outfits, anything. Because half of the outfits they wear, I've still seen in India multiple times. So it's like, you know, a lot of the times they're talking about Indian culture is cool. They're talking about the elitist, the luxury brands. You know, they're still not talking about what everyday people in general wear, which is still similar enough to what they are being seen. So it's like, what? Indian culture is only represented through their elitist, you know, like classist ways. Like, is that how India is supposed to be represented? Because like, I don't know if I'm making any sense right now, but like, the thing is, a lot of the times Indian people, the way they want to market India is only on the basis of their highest, richest classy thing, you know, classy level of people, the way they live and the way the brands they buy from, instead of what it actually is for most people. And it irritates me so much, because a lot of the Y2K, the tacky, whatever NRIs, that's still here, okay? Like, a lot of it is still here, and a lot of it's like, you know, influence in nowadays modern clothes, you can still be seen, and they look the same. Half the time they look the same, or just different variations of it too, you know? So it's like, there's a disconnect of what they're saying and what it actually is, like, okay? And the way that what they're focusing on is like wrong as well. In the end, these NRIs, they're gonna use what they have, which comes from India. And so the issue here is, it's what's happening in India itself right now regarding all these materials, etc. Nowadays though, on Instagram, I'm seeing like a lot of people are starting small businesses where they're focusing on craftsmanship again. But even that still feels like regurgitating what used to be an Indian fashion. I don't see anything new. I don't see anything fresh. I don't see any like respect given to these Indian craftsmanships. So in the end, people will use what they have, okay? And so in conclusion, I just think that all these Indian activists or whatever they are, I'm not saying all, right, but still those specific ones who are using this as an opportunity to talk about Indian, like, you know, how Indian craftsmanship is beautiful, appreciating our history, culture, whatever. The way they're talking about it just feels like, yeah, obviously they're just doing it for views at this point. It doesn't feel genuine. They're projecting it, they're discussing this to the wrong type of situation and audience without understanding the fact that NRI and Indians, they're gonna be a different sector, and a lot of the issues they're facing is just because of the issues in India. You know, India and all these issues they're talking about is because of India itself. They're directing it the wrong way. It's the issues in India. So, and plus they talk about it, and then they just, in the end, the only call to action that comes out of it is just calling out these NRIs for the tacky fashion. No, the issue is in India, right? So we should maybe focus on what we can do to fix it here, right? It makes me so angry, because I've noticed, this leads to another issue, but I've noticed a lot of the times it's not only Indians, it's like in general people outside of America, like they love this thing of obviously like, oh, Americans are dumb, Americans are stupid, like, but you know, it like, it feels so, how do I say this, it's just the way they talk about America, it feels like it's genuinely coming out of their own insecurity. And I'm not saying this is like a biased way coming from an American. It genuinely feels like that. Obviously, it's hard to trust my perspective because I'm American, but still, like I was raised in America, right? So, but still, like, I'm hungry. Okay, wait. The thing is, the way they talk about it, right? It's like it's always targeted in a way to make themselves feel better about it, about their own country. They always phrase their sentences like that, or they always like start laughing and smiling like, yeah, cause I'm better, type of way. You know, when they're like, oh, you Americans are so dumb. Oh, are you American? Let me guess, you're an American, right? Cause it, like, everything they do nowadays when it comes to discussing regarding America feels just a repackaging of that type of like sentiment, especially these Indian ones, because I can tell from my experience. I don't know why. Like, I know why, in a sense that since America used to be so praised, and I felt like India was always being compared, or like any other country was always being compared to it. And you know, I'm not trying to defend America as in like it's the best country ever, but I mean more like the people, like a lot of the people they targeted at, just a lot of the time the people they targeted at are also immigrants, or like, you know, children of immigrants, etc., like the generations, because they have this thing of like, you're from here, your ancestry's from here, but then you're there, so it's like a weird divide and weird insecurity and anger. I feel like people will get mad for me just calling this insecurity, but I think it's true, just because of the way they talk and express their sentiments out when it comes to this, and what their views are and what America is overall. I'm kind of going off topic here, but like I feel like all of this comes from like that type of, you know, topic in the end, because it's always about Americans, and it's just America. They just feel, you know, and I don't know, a lot of the times because of this, and I mean, I feel like even in India, the issues I was talking about, corporation, a lot of people, they still have the thing where they want to like seem posh or cool like Americans. They have that view. And so NRIs, in a sense, are a way for them to let their insecurity or inferiority out. And so anything they do there and they call representation, they take it as, oh, you're trying to represent us. No, they're representing their own culture, which is Indian American. You know, the way they've like been raised and what they've experienced, that's a different culture itself. But they have a hard time understanding or separating, or maybe they just don't want to accept it. But wait, I don't know what I'm talking about now. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this topic, and it's been irritating me for a long time, because again, like they said, like they like using this opportunity to insult directly Americans, and then obviously NRIs too, because they're like, oh, you're one of them now, blah blah blah, you don't understand us, this is that. But they're not saying they understand you, they're saying they're trying to understand a part of themselves, like NRIs, right? Because, you know, they have that Indian aspect of them. But yeah, so, and I think, okay, so the thing is, I feel like I have a unique point of view on this, just because I wasn't fully raised in America. I was also like from different parts, like I'm Telugu and South Indian, but then I was also raised in Maharashtra, surrounded by North Indian cultures and Maharashtrian cultures, and then I was also raised in America. It's like, it's been half and half for me, here, there, like equal amounts generally, and back and forth, a lot of back and forth. So because of that, I feel like I have more of a unique perspective, in a sense that I understand India in its own way, but then I obviously understand American in its own, like its own culture too, right? And I'm just mentioning that to maybe show my credibility, but yeah, that's my 2 cents on this topic. I feel like, I don't know, makes me angry. I keep seeing them on Instagram, and I would want to post this on Instagram, but I don't want anyone I know seeing me there. YouTube, less likely they'll know that I'm posting, so. But yeah, I am pissed.